virtual learners, it's Miss Moore, and today we are doing one of my favorite science labs. It's a little hard to do virtually, but we're gonna give it a try here. So this is the bird beak adaptations lab, and different birds have different types of beaks that help them eat different kinds of food. And so our lab today, we're trying to figure out which kind of beak goes with which kind of food. Obviously, this is all representative. We're not actually gonna have any bird food here, with the exception of one thing. So one of our tools is a pipette. Of course, you squeeze it to suck up water and squeeze it to let the water back out. And then this is supposed to, it's not chopsticks, don't get excited. We're not going to Panda Express. This is supposed to represent the type of beak that is long and it can be used to squeeze things or be used like to stab things. Then we have the fish net, but it's not representing fish at all in this case. It's representing bird beaks that when they fly with their beak open. Thank you, Miss Carson. All right. And then we have this one that represents a beak with sharp teeth and a strong jaw. Then we have the one that works like a strainer, which lets the water go through and keeps everything else inside. And then we have a nutcracker. Okay, so now let me tell you about the 6 different kinds of food that we have up here, and your job is to try to figure out which tool would be the best for eating that particular food. So right here we have, I believe this is an almond? I think it's an almond. And so with an almond, this could also represent a seed, like a sunflower seed, but basically you've got to get the shell off of it to be able to get the energy from inside of it. So would that best be done with the pipette, the stabby beak, the open mouth beak, the pinchy beak, the straining beak, or the nutcracking beak? So hopefully you realize it needs to be the nutcracker beak. And so their beaks are very hard, and that way when they chomp down on a seed, it breaks open and they can get to the part that actually contains the energy. They don't eat this part. So that would work for like eating a sunflower seed or any kind of seed basically that they crack open. Some seeds they just eat the whole thing, but some of them they crack open. So nuts and seeds would be this type of a beak. Really strong, really triangular, so it can get that food out. Okay, this is supposed to represent nectar in a flower. And so we need a bird that has a beak. We know it's not the nutcracker. So which of the remaining tools would be good for getting this nectar out of this long skinny tube? Well, only one of them is going to hold a liquid. So hopefully you thought it was a pipette, and this would represent like a hummingbird beak. So you lower it down and squeeze, and it is able to suck up the nectar. And if this were a hummingbird, it would swallow it and use it for energy. All that fun stuff. Okay, so there's the nut, there's the nectar. All right, so this is supposed to represent a flying insect, okay? Because there are birds that eat the flying insects. Whoops, I kind of just gave it away, didn't I? Okay, so hopefully you thought it was the net. So there are some birds that their jaws are not like attached like ours, like they have kind of a stretchy gap. And so the top part of their beak can actually be like pretty far away from the bottom part, and they just fly with their mouth open, and if they see a bug or whatever, they just fly to it, and so it works kind of like that. Ooh, I did it first try. You should be impressed. That doesn't always work first try. So there we go. The one example of a bird, we have them around here. They're so fun to watch. They're called scissor-tail flycatchers. They have these ginormously long tails. They look ridiculously long, and they kind of cross, and so that's why they're called scissor-tail. And it is so fun to see them just open their mouth and just swoop and get whatever. You can't tell what it is because it's too far away, but it's so fun. I love watching scissor-tail flycatchers. They land on the wires out here around the field fairly often when it gets closer to summertime. Okay, This one is supposed to represent small prey, like maybe a little mouse or a little bird or something of that sort. So we need something that can not only catch it, because we could catch it with this, but then after we caught it, we can't really do anything with it. So we would need a strong jaw with some sharp teeth so that once we caught it, we could hold on to it, but we could also rip it apart and get the energy from it. Sorry if that's a little disturbing, but that's the way nature works, kiddos. All right, and last two, the ones that involve water. This one contains cork, and because cork has low density, it floats on the water. We know that from when we learned about physical properties and relative density. And so we either need to capture this floating cork with the strainer or with the skewers that are together. Let's see. Oh, I got one. I'm like Mr. Miyagi with the fly. Have y'all seen? I hope you've seen Karate Kid. If not, you need to watch that movie. It's classic. Not the new one. I don't know. It might be good. I haven't seen it. But far faster and more efficient would be this strainer. I could get all of those little pieces of cork. These are supposed to represent little pieces of plant and insects that skim the top of the water. And so this beak is a filtering type of a beak, and a good example of a bird that uses a filter beak is a duck. So ducks have the filtering beak. And lastly, I know it's hard to believe, but these pink erasers are supposed to represent little fish. And unfortunately, our fish don't move. Obviously, in real life, fish would move, but these don't move, and so that makes it far easier to spear them. And so a lot of times what a lot of water birds do that have the really strong, long, spear-like beaks, they will stab a fish, fly off to the shore, and then set it down and eat it from there so that it can't swim away from them anymore. Or occasionally they will be able to pinch it and like swallow it down. You've probably seen some birds do that before, but these are like the really long beaked birds. Usually they're kind of tall and like, you know, it can be like a heron or something like that, or an egret, those types of things. So that is the bird beak lab. Hope you enjoyed.